Welcome to the Notes and Solutions for day 12 of our GCSE 5-a-day. And we start with question 1. Which type of triangle? We have several types of triangle that we need to know. We need to know about an isosceles triangle, about a right angled triangle. We need to know about an equilateral triangle, and we need to know about our scalene triangle. And it's absolutely essential that we know the words for our GCSE course and we connect this knowledge up. If I ask you about triangles, you should be able to tell me all 4 of these types and what their properties are. Now, when we look at our picture here, we see that we have 3 little hash marks here, and those are each telling us that these sides are of equal length. So our triangle here is an equilateral triangle. If we were to have an isosceles triangle, it would have had 2 equal sides and with 2 equal angles. If we had a right angled triangle, it would have had a right angle. Here's our equilateral triangle, and our scalene triangle is all other triangles which aren't of this type. Now, if you need to go and practice those words, then the 2 nuggets that I suggest that you do are 26.07 and 26.08. Okay, so we've got a ratio question here. Well, I say it's a question. We've got questions 2, 3, and 4, all about the same ratio. Our key knowledge here has to be that all the parts in this ratio are equal. So let's just make sure that we have a visual representation of this. There are Ali's 2 parts. Here are Barry's 3 parts. And here are Kat's 5 parts. And we're told that these sum to 500. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 parts. So our first step is going to be to find out what one of these 10 parts is. Now that's a division question. We're splitting 500 into 10 parts. 500 divided by 10 is 50. So that's telling me that every one of these parts here is 50 because they are all equal parts. Okay, and once we've got that, it's reasonably straightforward to be able to see that Ali receives 2 lots of 50, which is 100. And as I'm sure plenty of you have got used to in these 5-a-day, let's make sure that we have our units in. If you want to practice that in a century nugget, then the one we're going to go to is 15.07. Okay, question 3. Now, I've left up from question 2 the visualization of this ratio, and we need to remember that all the parts in our ratio are equal. Ali's, Barry's, Kat's, every single one of these parts is equal, and in total we've got 10 of them. So if we want to see what Barry has, what percentage does Barry receive? This is what percentage of the total. So Barry receives 3 parts out of 10. Now, if we need to have that as a percentage, then we want that out of 100. So we've got an exercise in equivalent fractions here. Whatever I do to the bottom, I need to do to the top of my fraction. How do I get from 10 to 100? I multiply by 10. So I've got to do the same thing at the top here. So I now have 30 out of 100, and so as a percentage I have 30%. Century nuggets to go and practice there. 8.02, which is this step here, and 8.03 is going from my fraction to a percentage. Okay, question 4, and we have our same visualization as we did for questions 2 and 3 as to what this ratio looks like. We're being asked for a fraction here. So what does Ali get as a fraction of what Kat gets? Now what we can see here is that Ali receives 2 parts and Kat receives 5 parts. So 2 divided by 5. So the maths was straightforward. This really is an exercise in making sure that we've understood what these words mean here. So as a fraction of, so the first part of this sentence is going to be the top, the numerator of our fraction, and fraction of what Kat receives, that is going to be the total, the bottom, the numerator of our fraction. Okay. Okay, question 5. We have a find a solution. Is another way of telling you to solve. Now, what we notice here is that we've got a means 1. Okay, so give one answer. This is a piece of exam technique here, in that if you're asked to give one answer and you give 2, then if both of those answers are okay, you'll be fine. But if one answer's right and one answer's wrong, you will lose your marks and not get credit for your one answer. So if you're asked for just a solution, just give one answer. Okay, now I'm going to do this 2 ways, as I often do. I'm going to do it with algebra. I'm also going to do it with a number machine. So the way that the algebra works here is that we need to keep both sides of this equation balanced, so that everything we do to one side of the equation we have to do to the other. And our step 1 here is going to be to divide both sides by 4. 100 divided by 4 is 25. Once we know that the square of something is 25, the operation we're going to do to both sides is to take the square root of both sides. And the square root of x squared is indeed x. And the square root of 25 is 5. Although some of you will remember that it's in fact plus or minus 5. So we have 2 answers here. We have 2 solutions here, 5 or negative 5. The usual answer here will be 5. Now, I said I'd just do this as a number machine for you. So this is where we see what's going on in our equation. So 4x squared, well, what does BIDMAS tell us to do here? We're going to follow our BIDMAS rules, and we've got some index numbers in here, the squaring. So the first thing we're going to do is to square our number. The next thing we're going to do is to multiply it by 4, and out at the end comes our number 100. Now, with our number machine, we solve things by putting this machine into reverse and using inverse operations. And you should remember that the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So the inverse of multiplying by 4 is dividing by 4. So here we go, 100 divided by 4 is 25. And not surprisingly, we're following the same steps that we did over in the algebra here. Inverse operation of squaring is to take our square root. So square root of 25, 5, or negative 5. Okay. And nuggets that I suggest you might want to look at there are 12.05 on square roots and 19.02 with some solving. Okay, so there we are. That's the end of our solutions for day 12 of our 5 a day. I hope you're enjoying them. If you've got any problems, please ask your teacher for help.